Okay, guys, welcome back to smarthelping.com. I've got an awesome model here, product as a service, also known as PaaS or PaaS. And so, what this type of business means is you're looking at, I guess the best example is let's say you buy a treadmill, and then that treadmill has a service where you can pay a monthly fee to have, a video instructor, fitness instructor or whatever live feed in, and you can, you know, pay a monthly fee for that. So that's the business model, and you can apply that to all kinds of things. All kinds of businesses do it. Microsoft with Xbox, you'll see, has where you buy the Xbox, and then they've got like a yearly subscription that you also need to sign up for if you want like a, month or play online games with people. So that's the concept. So I've never modeled it. I've had a couple requests for it, and I think it's time to do it. So this is combining like the kind of the software as a service model with retail and just combining it together. And I've built all the assumptions in here that you need to kind of build a forecast model for this. So what I'll do is I'm going to go through each tab, explain what it does, and basically all the light yellow shaded tabs are where you're going to input your assumptions. All the blue is summaries. And it's very important that you understand, if you're going to use this, you need to understand where all the assumptions are and what does what, so that you can use it nicely. So here we go. So the main project assumptions you start with the first day of the year of your forecast. It doesn't matter if you're starting halfway through the year or whatever, you still put 1/1 and then whatever year you're doing. I've just put in 1/1/2020 here. Then the exit month. Now, you don't have to have an exit month, um, and you don't have to have an exit value here. You could just put 0 if you don't want to put that in the forecast. But is whatever month you choose from here, and this will go out 5 years based on the date you put up here. And that's how all the drop downs will work across the model. Uh, so this will pick whatever month you pick. It'll end the forecast, so any months after that will all be zeros, and it'll give you a valuation based on the revenue multiple here. So if your annualized revenue is X, this is going to be 1.25 times X to give you this X evaluation. Uh, we've got cash sources. So, you might be getting investors, you might be getting some bank loans, whatever the case is, especially if you're a startup. So, these allow you to play with those assumptions so you could enter the amount of debt you plan on having, and then on that you can do specific assumptions about the debt, like the months you plan on that starting throughout the 5 years. Typically, it'll be in the first year, and the interest rate and the term of that loan. Uh, you've then got the remaining equity required, which is a really smart calculation, and it looks at your based on all of the things that affect cash flow. This is, EBITDA, which is, your revenue less expenses, operating expenses. You've got debt service, capex, exit value, just everything, anything that can affect cash is built into a monthly cash flow amount, and that's tracked from the very start over time, and this will give you the minimum amount. So this is nice because it gives you the burn. Like if you might be burning cash for a couple months or even 6 months or over 12 months. And so you don't need all that cash right away, but this tells you the amount of cash you need so that always have you never go negative um, in your cash position. And so that's a really cool metric, really helpful filler. And if you want reserves, you can always go into your startup costs. And if you put a reserve amount in here, that will all flow through the calculation. And then you'll know, yes, your cash position hits 0, but that means you still have some reserve here, whatever amount you fill in. Uh, and you can see that on the P&L monthly here. If we go down, we'll get into this in more detail later, but if you go down, you can see the cash position here is going to get always solved perfectly for 0. So you can see it's going down, down. There it is. So month 24, you hit 0, and then from then on you can see the cash flow is turned negative to positive, so now you're increasing it. So that'll change based on all your assumptions, but that's what that means, and that's how the equity requirement is calculated. And the equity requirement is then how much cash you need to raise beyond any debt to still cover all of those, you know, cash requirements based on your assumptions. So you're still going to need, um, well, either you're gonna have to put it all up, or if you can find investors, they can invest some, and then you'll have to put up the rest. So this solves for all that. All you have to do is put in the numbers here. Let's say the investors do 1 million. Now you'll have to bring in less yourself. So you see that's 1.4, but if we put in 1 million for investors, you only need, well, barely any, 40,000. Let's put this down. Let's say 500, 750,000. And now 540. And then you can determine the percentage of the company you're going to give up for that investment here, and that gives you an implied valuation. Uh, so that's a nice logic. And then you've got, so your owner equity, or the owner equity value, is the amount that of cash going in outside of investors and debt. Now this could be more. Let's say this is like 5 million, is a large amount. Then you're not going to have to invest anything, but you're still getting 60% of the business, so that's all profit, or that's all. There's no return on investment for the owners, but they're obviously running the company, and they get just 60% of whatever cash is left after paying out investors and everything else. So let's put this back to 750,000 here. And then we have the total debt and equity. So you can see 1.3 million roughly is equity, 250,000 debt, 84, 16% difference. All that changes based on your logic. So there's your major control assumptions of the deal, or the business forecast. So then we move on to actually figuring out how to forecast what's going on. So we've got unit cost. So this allows you to this is your manufacturing. So let's say you've got, 8 different areas of cost per unit. You might have less. That's okay. Let's just say, if you ship it off to manufacturer, they say, okay, to make this thing, it's going to be $1 per unit. This is going to be X, whatever, and then you get a total cost per unit, and then you just fill in the amount of units you plan to produce per year, and then it'll give you the annualized cost. And now this will be amortized over 12 months evenly, and that's how it flows through to the cash flow for this. You've also got estimated shipping, uh, and that might not be applicable, and that's fine. You can just put zeros in if it's not. But typically, if you're doing manufacturing in a faraway place, you might have to ship it over. There's a cost there, so you can kind of put in the amount of units that are possible that you can ship in a given load, and then based on that, it'll tell you how many loads you're going to have to ship per year. Uh, and then your relative shipping cost based on, see here, 3 times 10,000 per load, 30,000. And this is also amortized over 12 months for the purpose of the forecast. All right, so the next part of this is unit sales. Now, let's say every time you make a unit, you might not sell that unit. So you can adjust that for um, just that here. So you can see we're assuming 100% of everything that's manufactured is going to be sold. Now, if you put in like 95, or let's say 80%, you can see on the P&L here, we're now only making 80% of the sales. We're only selling 80% of what we've made, and there's a calculation here. So 80% of, and we're not even, there's more to this. I'll have to explain it in a second, but you can see, so 80% of, let's say, producing 10,000 units, go that divided by 12, or no, we don't need to amortize that. So that's 8,000. Here, I've done the assumptions of how many units, so based on the amount of units you sell, so here it's 8,000, what percent of that are sold in each month of the year. So this is seasonality. It takes into account seasonality, and that will help with your cash flow to be more accurate. And so this always should be 100%, but it doesn't necessarily mean every month has to be 100%. And here we're saying, okay, we're actually not going to start selling things until May. So that's why in our monthly, you can see nothing's actually selling until May. And then the actual amount that's selling in May is 20%. So you get 20, 20, 20, 10, 5, 5, 10, 10. So based on these percentages, this dynamically updates, and you can see if we go for the year, it should be our 8,000, which you can see if we sum it up, there's the sum 8,000. And we could change all of this and it'll all work. Let's say we put it back to 100%. Now it should be 10,000. Let's go back to the P&L. That should have updated, and there it is, 10,000. So logic is good there. I've extensively tested this to make sure everything is flowing correctly. All right, so there's your unit. That's basically the whole manufacturing side of what is going on. This is the margin. So this is backing into the actual price you want to sell each unit for. So if you're requiring a 55% margin, you sell for $26. You can see if you sell for $26, you're actually gonna make 55 cents on that. So you're making 14, you're selling for 26, your cost here, and this should be what it is over here, 1186, which you can see there it is, 1186. So that's how that is all flowing. Now we go to subscriptions. So this is the fun part. So you're selling all these things that you've made, and now you know some amount of those units are going to convert into monthly subscribers of your service. That could be and is likely related directly to the product. So you can put in those percentages here, and you can change it each year if you want, or it could be the same. So this 2% is just flowing right into here, and it's going to fuel the amount of user growth of these different tiers. And I've done up to 3 pricing tiers. You could determine the percentage of new subscribers that fall into each tier. So you can see that again has to add up to 100%. And this is saying, okay, in year one, 2% of all units are going to convert to subscribers. 10% of those are going to be basic subscribers. 50% are going to be standard. 40% premium. So that's how that works going through to the monthly. That's how all of these numbers are populating. You've also got churn, because obviously everybody that signs up is not going to sign up forever. So there's likely going to be some churn there, which you can define. This is a monthly churn rate, and you could change it. It could be different for each pricing tier as well. And then you've got your pricing of the tiers, which is the whole reason we got to do tiers, is so you can have the optionality to have different price ranges. If not, and if something's not required, you can always just zero it out, and that will not be a problem. You also have the month here. You can pick the month that subscribers start. So you might start manufacturing at the beginning of the year. You're not actually going to sell stuff till, you know, till May, and then you might not actually start your subscription service maybe till, later. Let's say right here we have that July. We could put it to like September, and you can see now your monthly subscribers start in September, and that's all dynamic based on what I just changed. So some nice logic there. The next part of this is operating expense. So this is really standard. I do this in pretty much all the models. And this is just, you've got operating expenses. So you've got sales and marketing. You could pick the month that the expense starts, and then the monthly amount of that expense, which can change each year. You've got G&A, general administrative, R&D, and this sales and marketing is actually going to help us, because we're going to do advanced metrics. We're going to do customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, the lifetime value to CAC ratio, and all kinds of fun advanced metrics. So we need to. That's why we have to group these expenses like we are. You've got R&D, then you've got some variable cost, cost of goods sold. Well, not variable cost, but you've got some fixed and variable costs of goods sold. Um, I've just put in fillers for all of this. You'd have to go through and clear this out and put in numbers that make sense for your forecast. I've just put the numbers you see here are just I was testing logic to make sure everything is working properly. You see I've got all this starting in April. We've got, so some of the cost of goods sold is just a hard-coded fixed monthly amount. Then we've got two areas. This area is a function of total monthly paying users. So this is just a cost per user. Um, and up to five of those types of costs. Then we've got also a direct percentage of revenue cost, which could be like, credit card fees or what have you. So there's lots of logic, lots of flexibility here to account for all kinds of different costs in your model. Finally here, well, not finally, we got one more thing after this, but the startup cost is just things that like you're gonna have to pay out right at the beginning before you do anything else, before any operations can start. So this could be like, say, this year, 2019, um, you're you're doing some structuring, you're getting things ready, you're spending money, but you're actually not going to start the forecast till next year. Well, this is where you would enter those like one-time costs, and this actually represents year zero of the forecast. And when you're talking about internal rate of return, um, this is this is going to contribute to what that ends up being. All right, so then we've got CapEx. So this is just more logic to flow. So you can pick any given month in the future based on whatever date we have in the control tab and an amount. And this is just a one-time expense that will come out of the cash flow and you can plan for. So we've got up to 16 slots there. All right, so those are all your assumptions. So then based on you going through all of that, you're now going to have some summaries. So let's start with the fun summary, which is cash distributions. So you can see we've got cash contribution and distribution summary. So this is first showing you the contributions of the whole project. So it's saying we need, basically, this is the amount of equity needed, 1.3 million. This is the amount of cash that's being returned. So any positive monthly value for cash flow in a given month is going to be added here. If it's a negative, it's not, because all the negatives add up to what all the negatives plus the initial startup costs, less the funding from debt is going to be what this number is. So we can see what it is on a project standpoint. This is the amount contributed. This is the amount distributed. We can get an internal rate of return for that. And based on a rate, we can do a discounted cash flow analysis for a net present value and the present value. Then we have the investor and owner. So now this might not be applicable. It depends. You can always zero out the investors if you have none, and that's fine. And then you can see here it'd just be all the owner contributing all the cash and getting all the cash flow back. And then if you do that, you can see the project cash flow is the same as the owners. But we want to say what happens if you split it, just for the sake of it. So you see here, the reason why the internal rate of returns are different. Oh, what happened there? Oh, I had to undo the contribution as well, so I put that back just now. So there's the investors is 80%, the owners is 113, and that's because we haven't split this pari passu, meaning the amount of cash you put in is the represented amount percentage you get out of it. We've just said, okay, we're going to sell you basically 40% of the company for 750,000. Now, if we were to raise this, let's say we give them 75%, now that's going to lower the IRR. Now it's switched. Now you can see the investors got a higher internal rate of return, owners got less because they're now getting less, but still contributing the same amount of equity. So this is a nice clean summary to show all of that happening over time based on your expected available distributions. Now we've got executive summary. So we're just doing it's over 5 years, and we've got revenues from product. So this is selling your units. You've got revenue from subscribers, which is hopefully going to grow over time. You got your cost of goods sold. These are all high level items. We'll get more into detail on how these are all being calculated in the P&L annual and monthly details. But cost of goods sold, we've separated out into the main line items that you'll see in like a financial statement. So G&A, sales and marketing, R&D. So you got revenue, gross profit, expenses, EBITDA, got some debt service coverage ratio, EBITDA margin, other cash flow items. So this is where we're kind of separating out the not like, so you got CapEx, debt service, investor funding, startup costs, proceeds from the exit, loan proceeds, loan payback, taxes. So we've separated all those out so you can see what is going on in the calculation of what cash is available. So cash flow post-tax here, running cash flow, and then the cash position. And that cash position, 26,417,000. If I did a good job, should match this cash position, 26,417,000, which it does. And that should also be the same as the monthly last month's cash position, which it is, 26,417,000. So I've done a good job making sure everything is tying out. You've also got your summary here. So this is a project IRR, the investor IRR, owner IRR. We went over that, but I've also added a return multiple. So this is just the amount of money returned versus the invested amount. If it's ever below 1, that means you didn't get back as much as you invested. It's over the whole life of the project. And you can see that for the investor and the owner. All right, next up is visuals. So some nice stuff, just standard 5-year analysis of the main items, revenues, expenses, EBITDA over time, revenue analysis. So this is the product sales revenue versus the subscriber revenue. I think that was interesting to look at. You've got your 5-year expense summary, and we've got all expenses in here, including taxes, CapEx, R&D, sales and marketing, general administrative, cost of goods sold. So you can see that in one bar for each. So the whole bar is the total expenses, and then each section is the different parts that make that up. And let me put our exit back to the last day of the year so the numbers all keep going up. And the visuals look nice. So there we go. So that updated. You've got unit sales by month. So this is based on your assumptions here with the unit sales, and then per the percentage you sell in each month of the year. And I've done that. You can change it over the course of 5 years for seasonality. And then also that's based on the percentage you put up here. Let's say we put 0% for year 4. You go into the visuals, now what's going to happen in year 4? Oh, it's 0. No sales. So we'll undo that, go back up here. And the reason why this is dropping off is because I think I put less percentage in the final month. But you'll have to do that for whatever makes sense for your scenario. Cash position over time, and you can see that goes right down to our $0. I already explained that. So this is like, you've got this much equity, you have a certain amount of activities that happen over time. This is what the cash flow looks like based on that, and we always know this always ties out to 0 because we're solving for the minimum cash requirement. And then you see from there we start actually making money, and the business can accrue some cash, and then you sell, and you got the big cash exit there. Total subscribers. This is again based on your subscription, the percentage of users that are converting, and that's also a function of your amount of units you're producing. So if you sell more and you're still doing the same conversion rates, well, then you're going to have more subscribers over time if you sell more over time. So that is showing up here. You see in 2022 is when we really ramp up from 20,000 units to 175,000. So that's why you see bigger increase going on. Then we've got the advanced metrics. So this is showing you your customer acquisition cost, which is just the total spent on sales and marketing divided by the total subscribers added. So this is more of a SaaS metric, but in product as a service, this is an important metric because you have subscribers that, and you're spending money on marketing, and so that has to be built into the calculation. Now you also have average gross profit from product sales per user. So these users are coming on, they've already bought a product. So this is showing you the gross product that you're making per user based on those purchases. And it's going up because I've got the assumptions making it go up. I like that. You've got average subscriber revenue. So this is the same thing, but instead of the product, this is the amount you're making per month per user. This is the amount you're making one time per user based on you selling them that one time, selling them that product that they bought. Now, strategies probably involve, you almost want to break even on your product sales, but then you grow your subscriber service a lot. That's probably a strategy, so you can play with the numbers there on like, okay, what's the lowest I can sell on my product to still break even there, but then I have this whole new revenue stream for subscribers. You've also got lifetime value, so this is going to be based on the churn rate and the expected subscriber fee plus the one-time gross profit you're making from the sale. And that will change based on all the assumptions. You've got months to pay back your customer acquisition costs. So this is saying based on your monthly revenue per user, monthly subscription revenue, and the one-time fee of the um, product, and you divide that by the cost to acquire a customer, and you get this customer acquisition cost, or you get the, I'm sorry, you get the months that is needed. So the months would be, okay, you got revenue of the gross profit of the product, then you've got them sign up, let's say for $12 a month. So based on if the customer acquisition cost is say $500, well then you're going to need how many months? Well, you need more than one, so that's $26. You add 12 to that, it's 38. So however many months then it goes over, you make 12, 12, 12. This is going to show you how many months that they have to keep subscribing for you to recover that cost. And this is just including the top line revenue for users and the gross profit of the unit sale, whatever product you're selling. Finally, loan to value to CAC ratio. So this is an important metric. Usually firms want it around 7 or 8, but it's just calculating the lifetime revenue based on the gross profit of the sale, and the churn rate gives you some expected amount of months that the user is expected to stay around for. And then you're dividing that lifetime value by the customer acquisition cost. And like if you can get around like anywhere between 6 and 8, that's really good. That means for every $1 you spend to acquire a customer, it's producing $8 over the life of that customer. All right, so there's all of that. Then we have what's driving all of this. So let's start at the top. I've already went through some of this. So you've got unit sales per month, revenue per month for unit sales, and I've kind of showed you how these change based on the assumptions. So you've got the first part is the unit stuff. The second area is the subscribers. So you've got the 3-tier subscribers, then you've got a consolidated view of the subscribers, then you've got the revenue for each tier of the subscribers and the consolidated revenue for those. Then you've got a summary of the revenue items here. Um, then we've got all the cost of goods sold, and all our general costs, EBITDA, CapEx, debt service. This is where all the logic is happening so that we can get those nice summaries in the other tabs, but see what's happening on a monthly basis. Now, the one thing is you will have to do this is add in your expected income taxes every month, and that's just too complicated to try to put logic around. So I've just put it in here. You can put it at 0 and just not include it, or you could put in an estimated amount of tax liability per month. And then that will automatically flow through to everywhere else. But that is one input that there is on the P&L monthly tab. I just wanted to get a space for you to actually, so you could just do something there, account for it if you wanted, but you don't have to. You can put zeros. Equity, cash position, and then here's your advanced metrics on a monthly basis. So I can build those nice charts. So that's all of that. And then the annual is just a summary, exactly the same as the monthly. It's just on an annual basis. I have grouped the columns here so you can see if you toggle 1 and 2 here, it kind of collapses all the details and you get the high level view of every item, and it's a little bit shorter. Like that's the whole thing, which is a lot easier to read than if it was expanded out, which is 270 rows. I'll keep it expanded for now, but if you want to, you just either hit 1 or 2, or you can hide certain sections and keep others open, however you want to do it. And that's on the P&L monthly and annual. It's got that logic. We went over the debt tab, so that's everything. All right, so that wasn't too bad. Now, guess what? If you've stayed around, I've got a bonus for you. If you've stayed around this long, I really want people to watch all these videos so that they ask me less questions about them when they buy them. I'm giving you guys this template for free if you go and purchase any model on my site, which ranges from between $45 and $125. I'm giving you this model for free if you make any other purchase. That includes any purchase on my other vendors. Like if you buy something from me that I built and put on eloquins.com or efinancials.com, or I mean efinancialmodels.com, uh, just send me the screenshot of your product or your purchase. I'll check it and say, yep, nice, thank you, and I'll send this over for free. That's a bonus for everybody that stuck it out and watched through every detail of the tabs. I'm giving a thank you out. I think this model is really good, and I think that does, if you are really serious here, then you deserve to have this. Um, for whatever price you pay for a different model. And the reason why also I did that is because I didn't know how to price this. Now, if you didn't listen to the end, well, you're not hearing this, so it doesn't matter. And you're going to pay $75 for this if you want to buy it, which is completely fine too. I think it's definitely worth that, and that's what price is going to be at. But if you don't have to pay that price, you can get this for free if you just buy any other model, which I have models for 45, 75, 125, and that means you get that model, and this is then a bonus, so you get up to possibly 2 models for the price of one, and one of those models will be this one. So I thought that was fair. We'll see how it goes. I might do it in the future. I'm not positive on that, but there you go. If you do want to purchase uh, those, just let's go over. Shoot, let me make a new tab. So if you go to smarthelping.com, this model will be under the financial models. It'll be in the industry specific, and you can go to it. I'll have a post and you'll buy it. And then also, this is where you could look at potentially if you want to buy, let's say, the employee scheduling template. You go buy that and say, hey, I bought this. I saw your video. If you mention that this part of it, then I'll say, okay, thanks a lot. And I'll go ahead and also send you the past product as a service model at no charge. Um, all right, so I guess that's it. Have a great one, and I'll see you later.